The camera lens focuses. A single acoustic guitar strums in the quiet.
Oh, boy.
Right? A man looks into the lens and plays a deeply emotional love song for an ex-wife. An ex-wife who, by the way, has already walked down the aisle with another man.
Just incredible.
The cameras flashed, the crowd froze, and just like that, Hollywood had a new obsession.
They really did.
Welcome to Starscope Report. Join Jordan and Jamie as they uncover Hollywood drama, music industry shakeups, and viral influencer scandals. From red carpet surprises to social media controversies, we dive deep into the stories behind the fame.
And if you're thinking, like, wait, are we talking about a movie script here?
Nope. No.
We're talking about Billy Ray Cyrus dropping quite literally the most chaotic birthday post of the decade.
Totally.
It is the ultimate modern-day country music ballad played out in real time for millions of people to scrutinize, and you honestly just cannot look away from the sheer audacity of it.
You really can't. I mean, you're probably thinking this is just another PR stunt by a Hollywood family, but the timeline here reveals something much deeper.
Oh, absolutely. We're looking at the Cyrus family, right? A dynasty that practically held a monopoly on pop culture for decades. So just as a refresher, Tish and Billy Ray were married for nearly 28 years.
A lifetime in Hollywood.
Literally. Tying the knot back in December 1993. They raised 5 kids together, including Miley, Noah, Brayson, plus Tish's older kids, Brandy and Trace, who Billy Ray adopted.
Right.
These survived multiple divorce filings over the years, always pulling back from the brink until they finally officially divorced in April 2022. Fast forward to today, and Tish is happily married to someone else.
Sure.
Yeah, she married the actor Dominic Purcell, who you probably know from Prison Break back in August of 2023.
So, visualize this dynamic for a second.
Okay, paint the picture.
You are a woman who has finally found stability. You're happily remarried, establishing a completely new life. And out of nowhere, your ex-husband of nearly 3 decades drops this highly produced, deeply emotional public serenade on social media for your 59th birthday.
It's wild.
He is singing a love song to a woman who is quite literally waking up next to Dominic Purcell. Well, let's analyze the post itself because the details are incredibly specific. So on May 13th, Billy Ray posts a video playing his 2007 ballad, Ready, Set, Don't Go, on an acoustic guitar.
Such a throwback.
It really is. And his caption reads, "Happy birthday, Tish. Wishing you peace, love, and happiness forever."
Forever. That is a loaded word.
Right. But he also purposefully ties the post to the birth of his late mother, Ruth Ann Ruthie Casto, whose birthday falls the very next day on May 14th.
Which, connecting his ex-wife's birthday to his late mother's birthday isn't an accident.
No, definitely not.
He is tethering Tish to the deepest, most permanent foundational figures in his life. And the song choice itself carries massive historical weight.
Yeah.
Like Ready, Set, Don't Go is not just some random track from his catalog.
No, and he explicitly spelled out why he chose it in the caption. He wrote that he penned that song while standing in his driveway watching Tish drive Miley out west to chase her Disney dream. Yeah, that was the ignition point of the entire Hannah Montana era. He even quoted the lyrics in the post, saying, "Got stars in her eyes, the prize is hers to win."
That's heavy.
Back in 2007, that song became a massive hit because Miley joined him for a father-daughter duet version. It was the literal soundtrack to their real-life relocation to Los Angeles.
Right, and think about the psychological pressure of that specific moment in 2007. The Disney machine is notorious for being this pressure cooker that just fractures families.
Oh, totally.
Billy Ray is pulling from an era where they went from a relatively normal, wealthy Tennessee family to a globally consumed commodity. By choosing that song, he's weaving together his grief over his late mother, the anxiety of watching his daughter become a global superstar, and his reliance on the woman who co-piloted that absolute insanity with him.
See, I have to challenge the innocence of that narrative, though.
Okay, go for it.
You're framing this as a poignant reflection, but look at the medium. I couldn't help but think this is the celebrity equivalent of leaving a deeply emotional 3 a.m. voicemail on an ex's phone.
Yeah, that's fair.
Except, instead of just Tish hearing it, he broadcasted it to millions of people on the internet. I mean, mourning an era is one thing, but doing it in a public square when she has moved on feels like a calculated display of post-divorce regret.
I see where you're coming from, but I interpret the broadcast aspect differently.
How so?
Well, when you live your entire adult life with cameras in your face, the line between private processing and public performance just disappears. It's human nature to look back at an era that was so defining, raising 5 kids, navigating global fame, and feel a profound sense of loss.
Yeah, makes sense.
When he talks about the driveway, he's not necessarily trying to win her back from Dominic Purcell. He's mourning a time when they were a unified front, an invincible parental team. The messiness is just a byproduct of Hollywood conditioning.
But wait till you hear what Tish was actually going through behind the scenes when the marriage ended. It is completely different from the public narrative of a clean break.
Oh, the contrast between those polished PR statements they released in 2022 and her actual mental state is just staggering.
It really is. Tish recently gave a very vulnerable interview on Chelsea Handler's Dear Chelsea podcast this month in May 2026. The reality she laid out paints a much darker picture of that separation.
So dark.
She admitted she was entirely devastated, claiming, "I didn't ever really think I would get a divorce. That was not in the cards at all for me."
Which tells you how much emotional labor she was putting into maintaining that parental unit Billy Ray is now so nostalgic for.
Exactly.
Because they had filed for divorce back in 2010 and 2013. But she always fought to pull them back together. She admitted she probably stayed far too long for the sake of her own mental health, basically trapped by the sunk cost fallacy of a nearly 30-year relationship.
And in that interview, she said she had been married for so long, she, quote, didn't know anything different. So when the rupture finally happened in 2022, she was thrust into what she called shock mode.
Yeah.
She even confessed, honestly, I was stoned.
Wow.
Yeah, she was chemically numbing the profound disorientation of losing a 28-year partnership because the sudden silence in her life was just deafening.
You know, the neurology of a 28-year marriage is fascinating. Your brain builds these deeply worn grooves of habit, resentment, and expectation.
Right?
Your nervous system is quite literally regulated by the presence of this other person, even if that presence is toxic. When that person is removed, you don't just feel sad, you feel physically unmoored.
That is such a good way to put it.
Tish talked about the hardest part being the realization of her reality versus the fantasy of what the marriage could have been. But observe how wildly their coping mechanisms diverged once they both hit that state of freefall.
Seriously, their post-2022 lives read like two completely different psychological case studies. So Tish, as we know, finds healing and marries Dominic Purcell in August 2023 as she grounds herself.
Yeah.
Billy Ray, conversely, goes into a complete tailspin. By October 2023, he marries an Australian singer-songwriter named Firerose, whose real name is Johanna Rose Hodges.
Oh, yeah.
But by August 2024, less than a year later, the divorce was finalized. Billy Ray publicly called the short-lived marriage the most crazy, insane scam, stating he was very relieved it was over.
That is classic rebound whiplash.
Total whiplash.
You have a man in his 60s stepping out of a 3-decade marriage. His identity is fractured. Without that psychological anchor, the brain panics and desperately seeks a replica of partnership, but completely lacks the discernment to evaluate if it's actually safe.
Right, he was just grasping at straws.
He latched onto Firerose to fill the void of Tish, and when the illusion shattered, it shattered spectacularly.
Yeah.
The fact that he called it a scam tells you everything about how vulnerable and reckless he was feeling.
Yet the timeline delivers a twist nobody could have predicted. Who does Billy Ray Cyrus end up dating by 2026 after surviving the Firerose scam? The glamorous British actress and former model Elizabeth Hurley.
I am still trying to process the visual of those two together.
So random.
It is a massive culture clash. You have the achy-breaky heart rocker from the backwoods of Tennessee and the epitome of British pop culture royalty. Even her good friend Elton John was reportedly bemused by the match.
Bemused is the perfect word. The sources map out how this happened, though. They originally met in 2022 on the set of a movie called Christmas in Paradise.
Right.
Billy Ray noted they had instant chemistry, but he was drowning in the darkest days of the Tish trauma, so nothing came of it. Fast forward to his messy escape from the Firerose marriage, and Elizabeth Hurley reaches out as a friend. That connection rapidly escalated.
And now we are getting imagery of Elizabeth Hurley talking about them spending the summer at her home in Surrey, England.
Oh my gosh.
She described their days saying, "We ate well, we were relaxed, we bird-watched." Billy Ray Cyrus bird-watching in the damp, quiet English countryside.
I can't even picture it.
And then, reversing the roles, she shows up to support him at the Stagecoach Country Music Festival in 2026.
Yes.
For anyone unfamiliar, Stagecoach is basically the country music equivalent of Coach, dusty, loud, and uniquely American. She posted pictures on Instagram wearing a suede fringe jacket and a sheer lace top, fully leaning into the cowboy aesthetic.
But is this just a temporary escape from reality, though? I look at this dynamic and wonder if extreme, polar opposite differences are actually the secret to finding peace, or if he's just playing a character in her world to avoid dealing with his own.
See, I argue it's the secret to finding peace.
Really?
Yeah, let's go back to those neural pathways. If Billy Ray dates a woman from the Nashville echo chamber, someone similar to Tish, he immediately falls back into his old toxic relationship habits. The dynamic is too familiar.
Ah, that makes a lot of sense.
But Elizabeth Hurley provides a cultural blank slate. She lives in Surrey, she isn't part of the country music machinery, and she has zero context for his old baggage. He cannot fall into his old routines because she wouldn't even recognize them.
Wow.
It forces a complete mental reset, relocating his nervous system from the chaotic glare of Los Angeles to a quiet garden in England.
Honestly, if you're loving these Hollywood twists, make sure you're subscribed. We've got even crazier stories ahead. And that's not even the wildest part of this deep dive. Later on, we'll talk about the shocking twist nobody saw coming, with the biggest star in the family, Miley.
Because Billy Ray's mental reset with Elizabeth Hurley doesn't just affect his romantic life. It is the key that unlocks the bitter gridlock he had with his kids.
We really have to examine the collateral damage of that 2022 divorce. The family visibly fractured, with rumors of the children taking sides, dominating the tabloids, and this all culminated in 2023 at the Grammys.
That was such a moment.
Miley won Record of the Year for her anthem Flowers. She stood on that stage, pointedly thanked Tish, and entirely omitted her dad from her speech.
The gravity of that omission cannot be overstated. Hannah Montana was built entirely on their real-life father-daughter chemistry.
Right.
Their bond was the foundation of the Cyrus brand. To see Miley intentionally sever that tie on the biggest stage in the music industry, while winning an award for a song about surviving a painful breakup, was a glaring indicator of how deep the family wounds ran.
Well, in May 2025, Miley gave a massive interview to the New York Times that illuminated the psychology behind that estrangement.
Yeah, she did.
She reflected on the hostility and stated, "I think I took on some of my mom's hurt as my own because it hurt her more than it hurt me as an adult, and so I owned a lot of her pain."
That requires immense self-awareness.
Yeah.
Children of divorce, regardless of their age, often cast themselves as the protector of the parent they perceive as the victim.
Absolutely.
Miley essentially admitted she was carrying Tish's devastating grief on her own shoulders, which naturally made Billy Ray the villain in her narrative.
And she elaborated on how her perspective shifted. She mentioned completely adoring her stepdad, Dominic Purcell, and crucially, she noted that seeing her dad find his own bliss with Elizabeth Hurley allowed her to finally step back. She said, "I'm respecting my parents as individuals instead of as parents."
That realization is the fundamental crossing point into true adulthood. As a child, your parents are a monolithic structure designed solely to nurture you.
Yeah.
Miley's child self had to catch up to her adult self and recognize that Billy Ray and Tish are flawed, independent humans who deserve happiness outside of their roles as her creators.
Consider this analogy to explain how they got here. Imagine the family dynamic was a heavily calcified building. You have 28 years of the same arguments, the same resentments, and the same rigid roles, perhaps. Miley was always forced to be the child peacekeeper.
Oh, for sure.
A structure that rigid cannot be gently renovated. It has to be demolished by an earthquake.
And the 2022 divorce was the earthquake. Tish being stoned in shock, Billy Ray spinning out into a scam marriage. Those are the aftershocks.
Yes.
The destruction had to happen so the dust could settle. Only then could Miley stop looking at them as an invincible parental unit. The demolition leveled the playing field, allowing them to finally meet eye to eye as adults.
And the rebuilding process is happening in plain sight. Miley posted a statement on Instagram confirming bridges have been built and time has done a lot of healing, while reiterating that her mom is her best friend.
Which is beautiful.
But then Billy Ray, who historically avoids commenting on family drama, issued a remarkably vulnerable public response.
He completely stripped away all the usual PR defensiveness.
He really did. He wrote that he was immensely proud of Miley's guts and her courage. But the most shocking part was his commentary on Tish.
That blew me away.
He called his ex-wife the very definition of a strong mother. He openly confessed to his own failures, writing, "Trust me, I'm the first to admit being married to me was not easy. I'm very good at making mistakes. A very imperfect man."
Wow.
And he closed the statement with, "Funny how history repeats itself. Full circle."
You know, a patriarchal country music star publicly taking ownership of his flaws and praising the woman he divorced is incredibly rare.
Unheard of.
For years, the media narrative was heavily polarized. Team Tish versus Team Billy Ray. By stepping onto a public platform and absorbing the blame, he clears the toxic air in a way that allows his kids to finally drop their defenses.
And this full circle healing is colliding with a massive present-day milestone. On May 22, 2026, Miley is receiving her star on the Hollywood Walk of Fame, and Billy Ray is stepping right back into the role of the proud father.
The contrast between the silence of the 2023 Grammys and his behavior this week is just deeply moving.
He flooded his social media with old black and white photos of Miley as a toddler sitting on the back of his motorcycle. He captioned it, "It's a long way from Tennessee to Hollywood." And you did it, girl. But he included a highly specific, grounding memory. He recalled how they used to sneak out of their Los Angeles hotel when she was a little kid and lurk on those dirty sidewalks of the Walk of Fame.
That is so specific.
Yeah, and he noted she would point out all the dried chewing gum because she knew it made him sick.
Scraping gum off the Hollywood pavement completely strips away the glossy celebrity veneer. It anchors this massive, untouchable pop culture achievement in a deeply human, granular memory of a father and his little girl.
He even added a follow-up post, joking, "I am coming in early to clean and shine the sidewalks before the big day."
That's sweet.
He reflected on how surreal it is for a daddy from Flatwoods, Kentucky to watch his daughter survive the machinery of fame and permanently cement her legacy on that very same sidewalk.
When you step back and look at the trajectory, this family survived the relentless Disney machine, the brutal scrutiny of early 2010s tabloid culture, a crushing divorce, and a chaotic scam marriage.
They've been through it all.
Arriving at this Walk of Fame ceremony with their relationships repaired proves that family structures don't just end when they break. They can be entirely redesigned into something healthier.
That brings a completely different context to the acoustic guitar video of Ready, Set, Don't Go that Billy Ray posted for Tish's birthday.
It really does.
It transforms from a desperate 3 a.m. voicemail into an acknowledgement. He is validating the beautiful, messy history they built together, a history that literally paved the driveway leading Miley to that Walk of Fame star.
He is conceding that a marriage isn't a failure simply because it ends. The decades of support they provided Miley are still valid and worth honoring, even as they thrive in their completely separate lives with Dominic Purcell and Elizabeth Hurley.
It really makes you wonder about the digital footprints we leave when we're healing. When a celebrity family falls apart, their grief becomes public consumption. Every Grammy snub and podcast interview is ruthlessly dissected.
Absolutely.
But as Billy Ray's birthday post to Tish shows, sometimes their healing, their apologies, and their grace become public too. It begs the question how much of our own healing is shaped by who is watching.
That's a great question. When the world is your audience, does it force you to be more accountable and actually do the work, or does it just change the nature of the performance?
You've been listening to Starscope Report, where Jordan and Jamie uncover the stories shaping Hollywood, music, and pop culture. Thanks for tuning in, and don't forget to subscribe for more stories that keep the stars shining.